year is 1997 and the company running with scissors decides to release a game that is set to be the edgiest thing to be released in gaming. At the time, that is. There are other games that have come out edgier than Postal since then, but this was one of the early edgy games. An edgelord, if you will. And upon its release, it would receive a lot of attention from gamers, parents, and would even go on to get the attention of a lot of politicians. For those who don't know anything about this game, they are thinking, wow, this must be a very popular game if politicians are interested in it. Well, interested may not be the right word to use, but yeah, you could say that. Now, I know of the Postal series, but mostly of Postal 2. I remember seeing ads for it everywhere and remember seeing it on the news as well. Never got a chance to play it though. The news reporters really made it out to be an awesome game to play at the time, though that may not have been their intended purpose. But let's face it, if you want to make it big in America, you have to do some completely outrageous stuff in order to get noticed if you want to make money or fame. Companies do it, celebrities do it, influencers do it, politicians do it, and cults do it too. Main reason for this is because it leads up to free advertisement and gets you notice. But anyways, let's get back to the game that this video is about, Postal. Now, before I jump into the history of this game, I would like to state that I have recorded some clips from the original version that has some updates from Steam, but I mostly played the Redux version that has better graphics, better controls, and has better character models. Also, I could barely see the crosshairs in the original version, so it was a must for me to go with the Redux version. Now, the game was released in 1997, and it got a lot of attention, which is what you want when you are dealing with the world of sales. The more attention you get, the better chance you get to make more sales, which means more money. Though the reason behind that attention can greatly affect sales sometimes. The name itself is one of those things that cause people to have it catch their eyes. Postal. Now, postal is a word that is involved mainly with relating to the post office and mail. However, it is one of those words, depending on how you use it, affects its meaning. For example, if you say postal, you think mail. However, if you say the phrase going postal, then the meaning becomes this. So your girlfriend isn't hangry, she's mostly going postal from the stress of hunger. Don't use that as your defense in court, cause I don't think that is going to be a very well structured defense. But judge, the low subscribed YouTuber said she was going postal. That seemed like a good reason to tase her for the sake of my safety. Well, one, your taser is just a board with a nail in it that you named taser. And second, the term hangry hasn't been classified as the same as going postal.
Huh.
Yet. It hasn't been classified yet. The Post Service would hit the game company with a lawsuit because they were using the title Postal. This lawsuit went on for 6 years only for it to be dismissed. The reason the lawsuit came around was because starting in the 80s, postal workers would start attacking the workplace and would end the lives of other employees. As these events continued to increase over time, the phrase going postal would be made, and the Postal Service would disapprove of this phrase and did not think it was earned. However, I came across this part of the wiki while doing research at the time. Also, this game came out during the 90s, which means it was caught up in the violent video games uproar that was going on with politicians at the time, claiming that violent video games made kids and people more violent. And a game with a name like Postal and it has you running around shooting people and even going after an Air Force base, it's not hard to see why this game had one of the biggest blips on the politicians' radars. There is another reason it caught some people's eyes, but I'll get to that later in the video. You know, it's kind of ironic when you take the time to think about it, because remember the meaning of the phrase going postal is going violent because of stress. So who do you think causes more stress to the people? This or this? So yeah, the ones complaining about games making people violent don't consider themselves a reason for the increase in violence and people offing themselves. However, during the whole case of video game violence, this would do nothing more but bring attention to the games in question, which made people go, hey, I want to play those games, which helped increase sales from many games, and Postal would be one of those games. And that's despite many stores not even wanting to sell it on their shelves. The game managed to have over 49,000 copies sold by the end of 2002. If I remember correctly, that was just in America. They did manage to sell more in Europe. Then Running with Scissors would release an expansion for the game in 1998 called Special Delivery, and after some time they decided that they would continue the Postal series despite all the drama that came with the first game, though they would change up the style of the game to be more humorous. Now, with all the commotion going on about the game, I thought there was going to be more to this game when I started playing it, but I quickly learned that it's just an isometric shooter game. The only thing I didn't like about this was that the view of the maps would change sometimes from an angled view to sometimes being a top-down view. So I had to readjust myself to what was cover when on an angle view and to what was the proper line of sight at the same time. Basically, how they did this is that they use a 2D background with 3D character models on top. The dude, the main character of the game, is having a mental breakdown and is being evicted out of his home by people with guns, Molotov grenades, and rocket launchers. I'm getting some Ruby Ridge, Wacko Siege, and Rainbow Farm vibes now. I understand using firearms against firearms, that makes sense, but straight to explosives and not caring about the civilians who are running for their lives? Bloody Christ. So basically, you collect what you can for more firepower and you make your way through the levels after you take out all the hostiles. Scratch that, all the overly aggressive hostiles, and then you move on. Well, you do if you are playing the Redux version. If you are playing the original version, you are going to find yourself running around trying to exit the level only to look up what's wrong and find out that for some reason you have to press F1 in order to exit the level. It was the early years of gaming, things got weird at times. I have no idea why it is like this. I don't think anyone knows why it is like this. If you know why it is like this, don't let anyone know. Allow the confusion to let them suffer some. So that's the gameplay. You run, you gun, you collect, and you repeat in each level. Not much to it. In fact, the game didn't get that great of scores, and it mostly got 6 out of 10 and 7 out of 10 across the scoreboards. And I have to agree with them. You can play on the harder level settings for a better challenge. It was a challenge I was not up to, and I was really put in my place. Quick tip, learn to dodge under the rockets, cause I didn't, and this happened to me a few times. Yeah, this is something you can't escape from either once it starts, and for some reason the ducking in the Redux version is messed up. Also, my personal favorite weapons to use were the automatic shotgun and the napalm launcher. I mean, look at these things in action.
Need a light. Show no mercy.
Also, I like playing fire tag as well.
Help me! Help me! Ugh. Embrace the heat. You gotta be fucking kidding.
Now, if you have ever seen the paintings done by the mentally ill, then you will notice the similarities to them in the loading screens and text that come with them. Now, someone who has never seen such things will think it's just the developers trying to be edgy for the sake of being edgy, which was the whole point. It has that 90s edginess to it, and the developers wanted to make it a fast-paced shooter that was just fun to play. So they combined the edgiest stuff they felt that they could get away with for the game and went with it. This really helped Postal stand out from other run-and-gun games that were out at the time. Where other games have you as the hero being triumphant, a model for people to be inspired by and standing strong in the face of the enemy, you instead have someone who is not well mentally and has most likely been struggling financially, considering that may be a reason that he is being evicted from his home. There may be another reason for the eviction, but it is never explained what caused him to be evicted, nor is it explained on what has happened to him in his past leading up to the mental breakdown. He isn't a hero by any means and is just a guy struggling in life, and that's it. And here's something I wasn't expecting to come across while doing my research about him. When playing the game, you can hear the Postal dudes saying some voice lines in the game.
Well done, die weakling. Forget the brown bag, you need a body bag.
The voice actor is Rick Hunter, and I thought he was the voice of the Postal Dude. Well, it turns out the pain voices that you hear were done by a separate voice actor, Vince Desi, meaning that Vince Desi is the dude, not Rick Hunter in Postal 1. But who is talking then if it isn't the dude? Which is what some of you are wondering, and I was wondering myself. Well, I had the rug pulled out from under me while looking into the history of this game. It turns out that the voice that is talking, that's the voice in his head. In the original game, there is a file labeled Demon, and it holds the voice lines done by Rick Hunter. This really plays into the mental problems that the Postal Dude has, and it fits into the style that they went for. Because if you investigate the mental illness of the dude, the most common you come across is paranoid schizophrenia. This is because he is acting in self-defense, because in his mind he believes the town is infected by something that has changed him, and he believes he is the only sane person left. To be honest, no one seems to be in their right mind in this world anyways. I mean, if I saw the authority figures outside my door with rocket launchers with civilians running straight into the crossfire and seeing people doing this, I would question everyone's sanity as well. This is a question that has popped up multiple times, and Running with Scissors has given pretty much the same answer every time when they are asked. Postal Dude is not a hero or a bad guy. He is what you make of him because you control him, which this would also fall within the voice in his head telling him what to do, because basically you are the voice telling him what to do. Postal Dude isn't required to attack the civilians to progress or anything. They are just there, and you choose what he does to them or what he doesn't do to them. The game doesn't even label them as hostiles or as a requirement to progress, only those who attack the Postal Dude. The same can be said about the ostriches as well. I didn't attack them because any species not capable of creating taxes is good in my book. I mean, you can go after everyone till the population is 0, or you can relax and enjoy the nice marching band like I did. See, wasn't that a nice distraction from the fact that the world is full of corrupt people who control a majority of things and ruin the lives of so many people without facing justice, realizing that humanity has been doomed to repeat the cycle over and over again because no one learns from Switzerland's success? But I will say, after seeing this scene right here, it really gave me a strong lean towards the dude being a bad guy, but luckily it turns out it was just in the dude's head and he faints afterward. And if you're like me, you are left with one very important question in your mind. Why do all these kids look exactly the same? Is this another secret government experiment? Okay, technically 2 questions. Now, Running with Scissors agreed that this scene was a bit too far and made it impossible to hurt the kids, and removed this scene and replaced it with this one in the Redux version, with a casket being lowered to the grave with only the preacher there. But if you beat the game on hard, you get the same scene but with 2 people there, and this has left the community with theories on who they are, and I have heard many theories about it. Now, like I said before, this game is mostly a 7 out of 10, but it is a challenging game on hard. I played the original levels, and they have added more levels to the game after it was released. I recommend the Redux version, but if you prefer the original, you can get it as well off Steam. Personally, I say if you are wanting to get into starting the Postal series for yourself, then this isn't a bad start. I know the games following this have a very different style, so it's nice to see how the series started and see how it progresses afterwards. And that's all I have to say about the game. Hope you have a good day. Hey, I managed to make it through without mentioning
I regret nothing.